podcasting time, and not just any podcast, but the Photography Brothers podcast. And let me tell you, when you clicked on this podcast today, you made one of the best decisions that you've made in your entire life, because we not only do we have a great episode of today's podcast ready for you, but we have a great song in store for everybody. But before we get into any of that, we'll just let the anticipation build, because I think it's going to be one of the best songs, not only that's ever been heard on this podcast, but probably in like the history of music and sound, I am assuming. Yeah, I think we have something pretty pressing to address before we jump into that. And that is, it's officially summer, everybody. I don't know if you noticed out there, but it is officially summer. I got some flowers here. We got some flowers here. A little bit of flower action over there on the set today, so everybody knows it's the summer. I'm drinking my summer coffee at 6:20 p.m. because why not? I don't have to let other people tell me when to drink coffee. But what I want to address here, Michael, now that the patios are open here in Toronto, momentous occasion. The life has been re-injected into the city. What I want to know, have you been to any patios yet? Or if not, what is the first patio, bar, restaurant that you're going to hit up, buddy?
Yeah, so we went to a pub just across the street. It was called
nice. Cool,
Keenan's Pub, yeah.
Supporting the local spot at Keenan's Pub.
Yeah, we, first night out for a while drinking, and yeah, we definitely supported them. Yeah, we.
How are you feeling? Were you feeling the support the morning after as well?
You know what? I needed to, because I had a gig at 8, so in Vaughan. So.
A photography-related gig?
Photography? No, no. Actually, personal dancing lessons.
Okay, cool, man.
Like right Magic Mike dancing services. But
not surprised.
No, man. Yeah, photography is like for some pastries and stuff. How about you, man? You went out to a patio?
Be careful with that copyright, dude. If you go around stripping under the name Magic Mike, that could be potentially an issue for you.
Let's bleep it.
Yeah.
Whoever's editing this, bleep when I say.
Yeah, Megan. Make sure that you don't want to ruin Michael's his highly successful stripping career.
Yeah, come on.
That's great, buddy. I'm gonna be hitting up the Wheat Sheaf here pretty soon. I actually haven't been out to a patio yet. I was shooting a lot over the weekend and haven't really had the chance, but I'm excited to get back onto the patios a little bit, man, and just to our listeners out there, support your local bars. Get out there and get some drinks in you. Try something new. You've been at home. You've been having Coronas. You've been having ciders and whatever. But you know what? When's the last time you had a good margarita or a Cosmopolitan? It's probably been a minute, right? So
I don't know that now was a good time to say. At home consuming the Coronas. I don't think that's it. This is not. It's too soon.
This episode is sponsored by Corona, the good one. No, it's not. But anyways, just like Fast and Furious, they gave them like tons and tons of free advertising. So I guess we're gonna do the same. Next episode, we will be drinking Coronas until Dos Equis gives us money to stop. So. But yeah, with all of that out of the way, I think we're ready to get into the song, and momentous occasion here, dear listeners. But I won't be doing the song today. It's actually going to be my man Michael Costa doing the song. So, Michael, will you grace us with a beautiful song on the podcast today?
All right, I will. Also,
the anticipation's building, Michael. Oh, the guitar's coming out. Oh, also, we didn't mention Michael's injury, his limitation on the podcast today, and how he's really trooping through with an effed up ankle, dear listeners. But we're gonna pull through here. He's even got it. He's got the effed up ankle and the song. And if you thought that I was gonna give him the song off just because his ankle's effed up, then you don't know me.
Don't worry. I knew.
Michael knew.
All right, so this is a play on a classic. It's photo time. Go take off your lens cap and take photos all over the world. It's Photo Bros. Turn all of the lights on over Jared and myself today. It's photo time. 9 slaps. Okay,
Wow.
I'm not gonna be able to do this, but,
really good, dude.
but I'll just do it slowly.
It's
Nine snaps left. Last SD card. Will we last? We've come too far. It's Photo Bros. I don't know why I sung that like a early 2000s punk rocker, but that's just what happened.
That's just the vibe, dude, because most of those guys were injured and on drugs. So that makes perfect sense. Dear listeners, I am your photographer, Jared Poirier, and thank you so much for joining us for this very special episode of the Photography Brothers, episode 26. And I'm here with another stunning archetype of manliness. Michael Costa. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you doing? Sorry, I've like almost completely lost all audio of you. And I don't know what's going on. We'll figure this out. I mean, aside from that, I'm doing all right.
Well, I'm doing great now that I'm here on the podcast with you, my brother, and I'm excited to get into our topic today. So why don't we just dive right in, man? We got a great news story coming up as soon as we get through this great topic idea of mine. A great news story brought to our dear listeners by the man himself, Michael Costa. But before we can get into that wonderful news all around, we'll just do a little tease. It's Apple related news for all of you Apple fanboys, Apple stans, Apple riders out there. He
knows all of you.
Yeah, I know every one of you. I know every one of you guys out there. But what's our frickin' topic today, buddy? What's our topic?
I believe the topic was when to reject a gig.
Yeah. Or if you want to say it in a nice way, when to say no thanks. When to say no thanks to a gig, Michael. And
no thanks, man.
Yeah. And that might be something that is kind of, if you're a new photographer or a new videographer, a new creative of any type, that might sound crazy to you, that you would ever say no to someone who wants to hire you for a gig and give you some money. But I've said no to gigs before, and sometimes it is the right decision to make, right? And I'm sure that you've done it as well. In fact, I know for a fact that Michael has said no thanks to a couple of gigs, and I think there's a lot of different scenarios where you might want to say no thanks to a gig when a gig might be, just not worth it or just not right for you. So we're going to get into some of that. But what do you think is the main reason, Michael, why you might have to, in some cases, say no thanks to a particular offer for a creative gig?
Yeah, I'm going to say, they want you to shoot for free without any sort of incentive. That can be often a good indicator, especially if it's someone, again, we've talked about before how when you're, growing as a photographer and you're trying to build that portfolio, sometimes you're going to reach out and say, hey, if you send me some of your merch, I'd like to take some photos. You're trying to build that up. But, like we've discussed before on the show, there comes a time when, you transition in your career to being a paid photographer. And, when you get there, you don't want to step back. And I think that it is a hard thing sometimes to kind of put your foot down and kind of be there for yourself, to stand up for yourself there. But if some, you're at that point in your career, you feel that your quality of work is good enough to where you should be making money for it, then, there needs to be some sort of incentive if it's not money. And, that better be merch or something like that. But yeah, I think that's a one there.
That's the first one that I have on my list here, man. So I think that we're aligned on that for sure. We are allies in saying no to gigs. That if the budget just isn't there, right? Even if they're not asking you to shoot 100% for free, but the budget is just too low, right? Oh, we've got $100. You have $150. It's quite a bit of work. Man, you're my buddy. You should just do it. And sometimes it's just not worth it. And you have to realize that, like, as an artist, as a creative, as a human being, right? None of us, unless you're Thanos with the glove, like, you don't have power over time, right? All of our
Gauntlet.
Yeah, with the infinity gauntlet, right? And you can just snap your fingers and all of a sudden you have your time back. But your time is finite and it is valuable as well, right? So, whether you bill hourly or, you have a nice flat rate for your work, just the money just has to be there if you're going to say yes to a gig and, or some other type of, big incentive. Maybe it is an exposure thing. Maybe this is a chance to get in front of like a whole bunch of people and make a big impression, right? And then you can kind of consider that. We've talked quite a bit to this before on the podcast, so we won't really try to like dig in too much. We've talked quite a bit about pricing, but I think it is like probably the most important, well, maybe not the most important, but definitely the one that Michael and I both thought of first, whatever that tells you, right? What's the next? I like that this is just working out so far. So we'll see if you just keep pulling them off my list here. I have a suspicion that Michael's been sending some spies to do recon on my podcast notes. So we're going to see if we can confirm that today. So what would be the next reason, Michael, why you might say no thanks to a gig?
Okay, sorry, before I get into that, earlier when you mentioned that Thanos had a glove, I just imagined, like those really large, like yellow kitchen, like washing your dishes gloves. I'm just imagining him wearing one of those with the
ring pops, with like ring pops. Sick, dude. That's going to be the official. If you donate to our Patreon, we're going to get up to Patreon pretty soon. Maybe episode 30 or something, some milestone. We'll launch the Patreon. That'll be a top tier. You can get a PHOTOBROS official glove where you can snap your fingers and get your time back from those time waster clients. Just kidding. Wow, just kidding. We love all clients. We love any and all clients. But what is another reason why you might say no?
Yes,
Michael. All gloves aside. All gloves aside.
All gloves and gauntlets aside. I'm gonna say this is similar to that point, but it's in that it's money related, but it is a little different. They don't respect your worth. Or the value of what they're asking for, right? Mm-hmm. How many times do we get it where, they come to you, they have these expectations, and you just based on your conversation, even how they're saying it, sometimes you'll know that they probably don't understand how much they're asking for. Yeah. It's rough, but and then they want it for a fraction of what a fraction of what you would like to get back for that, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you have a skill set, you're being paid to be a specialist, and the more complex that gets, then you need to be compensated properly. So at the end of the day, I think we all would like to prioritize the gigs that are coming through that are probably going to lead to re-gigs, rebookings. Mm-hmm, and I can tell you right now, anytime that I've compensated and just or settled and just done some of these low paying gigs, majority of those don't come back. You're just another photographer to them, and they don't understand your value and your weight.
Yeah, maybe like it's not understanding the value of creative, and not to like distinguish it further from just like a budgetary thing, just not understanding. And this is something that you might be able to work past. Like you might be able to educate your client in this way, right? And I have done this before, like kind of, started with what I had and then built them into the client that I want to be, but like that I want them to be, but like understanding the process, right? Like if they have no idea of the process, everything that it takes to put like a video project together or put a big photo shoot together, and the value of that, like the actual ROI of having like, really professionally done, creative work, right? For creative assets for their company. Like if they don't understand like what that process is, the scope of it, what goes into it, again, you might be able to teach them that, right? You might be able to teach them like essentially how to work with you and how to get a good result from that. But yeah, man, like you're taking on a big burden there, right? So if you're a newer person and like you're just gaining your first few clients, I'd say yeah, like you kind of work through those hurdles. Once you start to get a little bit more established, you kind of just you look at the field and maybe you have like multiple offers, right? Maybe like your month is going to be booked up by a certain person if you take that, and yeah, you got to look at what cards you got on the table, right?
Yeah. I'm already thinking. I was just thinking about, I already know what I want next week's topic to be.
Oh, nice.
Just
well, that's good.
Bouncing off of this one. Because
Perfect.
this is a great. These are all great points. I think there's a lot of value here.
I tend to think of good topics, not to toot my own trombone too much, but another one that I have here, Michael.
Yes.
That I'm not sure if you were going to bring this one up, but I just want to make sure that we get it here. We are, getting deep into the podcast here, and I want to make sure that we don't lose sight of this very, very important reason to say no to a gig, and that's just if like the company doesn't align with your core values, man. And this, that might seem like a bit of a hippy dippy thing to say on from a business perspective, but it is really true and very important, right? Like if you're a company that believes like really strongly in I don't know, just like think of a random example, like you as a person or you as a company believes in like diversity and like racial justice, and I don't know, like ICE, like it's a stupid example, but ICE, the immigration enforcement,
Vanilla Ice?
No, yeah, Vanilla Ice gets in touch with you. I don't know, whatever. The Republican Party.
Republican Party.
Donald
Yes.
Trump. Donald Trump calls you up. If Donald Trump calls me up, right? I'm wearing my blue hat, and it says, "Best Grandpa." World's. What does it say? It says
World's worst grandpa.
It says world's best grandpa. Best grandpa ever. It says best grandpa ever. It doesn't say any type of bad stuff, and it's blue. And if Donald Trump called me today and said, I need some videos, I'd say, no, thank you. You do not align with my core values, sir. Right? Or Vanilla Ice. I mean, it's okay. Vanilla Ice, if you get in touch, I'll do some videos for you, bro. That's no problem.
Oh, will you?
Yeah. But you know what I mean, man.
Like, I feel like you're not a nice guy.
Whatever, I'll do it. I'm all about environmentalism and stuff like that too, right? And that's like one of the big reasons why I got out of doing like more print-based marketing and stuff like that, and like doing more digital marketing. It's just like better for the earth, right? So if Exxon Mobil or whatever hits us up for a sponsor for the podcast, we might not be able to take that,
It's true.
So I'm sorry.
Now,
I'm sorry.
I want everyone to know that I've completely changed my light setup as Jared was talking.
Now that is some pro stuff, man. Yeah, what do you think about that? Like saying no to gigs if the company doesn't align with your values. Do you think that's kind of a goofy, maybe too much of a moral oral kind of thing to do?
Moral oral.
For how old is that reference, bro? That's a 20-year-old reference.
I've only heard it once.
Moral Oral? You don't know that show?
Yeah.
That was a show on like
No.
Adult Swim. Anyways, whatever. It's not important.
Okay.
My Moral Oral.
My parents didn't let me on that channel.
My Moral Oral fans will sound off in the comments. But
yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with you, right? Like at the end of the day, we're creatives, right? We're creatives that are offering our vision, our ability in return for profit. But it's because we have that skill set and that ability to see things a certain way. And so I think it would be a little difficult for you to tackle a project with someone that you don't align with, because you have to be in it. You know what I mean? Like when you don't want to be there, it can show in your work, and also just you don't even want to be there. So I think I agree with you, man. I think it needs to align.
It definitely, in my experience, if it's something that I care about, if it's a company that I believe in, and like I believe in what they're doing, I'm gonna just work way harder, and I'm gonna like care a lot more about what I'm putting out, right? And like I think that's ultimately kind of like what we got in this for, man. Is like to not have to do things that we don't want to do, I guess. So yeah, like that you kind of. Yeah, that's something that you realize once you get into doing like freelance or kind of contract-based work. The freedom that comes along with that, it is like a kind of an instability. You don't always know where your next meal is coming from, but there is a lot of freedom there, right? And feel free to exercise it, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's important to do that. Another one that I have here, I mean, we talked a little bit about like them just like not understanding the scope of the project, kind of being unclear about that. I think that's really important. And probably the last one that I'd want to talk about, maybe you've got one more after that.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
You got one more. Perfect. Yep. That's perfect timing, bro. It's almost like we're a couple of podcast professionals over here. Pacing it out perfectly on the bros. Episode 26. It only took us 26 episodes and we're already this good. Imagine on episode 100, the type of songs we're going to be playing. Full orchestral arrangements, bro. That's the word, right?
Dude, you look like a podcast host right now that is comfortable.
I know,
that is comfortable as a podcast host. You know what I mean? Like you see these guys that have been doing like 300 episodes. Yeah. They're wearing some like cheesy hat with a band T-shirt and some sort of movie reference on their mug. Yeah, it's gotta be. Yeah, you're doing this. You're doing this.
We're out here, dog. We are out here. We're doing this for real, bro. Okay, so here we go. Another reason why you might want to say no to a gig is just if like before you've even done anything, before they've even sent you the deposit, before you've even switched that camera to on, or charged your battery or turned on a light, if they're already like arguing with you about something, like whatever that is, and that's like maybe it's okay, like if they're they have some contention about something in the contract, or they're arguing about your rate or whatever. I mean, sometimes you can work those things out, but I've definitely noticed, like now that I've been doing this for a while, kind of my fourth-ish, fifth-ish, whatever year in business, depending on where you start counting how seriously I was taking business. But now that I've been doing it for a while, I really spot that, like if there's just like a kind of contention and the person's just being like argumentative about like certain things that, you know, ultimately aren't really going to affect the end product that much. That's when I kind of wonder, like, okay, you know, what am I getting into here? And is this going to be way more trouble than it's worth, right? Have you ever kind of experienced something like that? And then you were just like, you know what? I gotta move on here.
That's a good one. I'm trying to think of if I mean, I feel like I have, right?
Yeah. They'll argue about price. They'll argue about portfolio. Like that's been a big one for me, is people who are like, "Oh, you can't use this in your portfolio," and I'm like, "Well, that's kind of a big part of it." So
yeah,
you know,
or you know what? Or another thing is when, you know, it is something that is a bit. I mean, to tie on to your point, is when you've had something that was discussed, right?
Yeah.
Like when it's something a bit more specific, like a company video or something like that, and then you show up one day to shoot, the footage, some of it or even all of it, and then we want to change it. We're thinking, let's do this instead.
Yeah.
That's another indicator of the same thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
That you're just getting yourself into a bad into a bad position. And the reason why I say that's bad is like what has worked for me in my business. And again, like I'm not a millionaire. I'm wearing my best grandpa hat that I bought today at Winners for $10. Got my band shirt on,
Nice.
I'm clearly not a millionaire, but I've had a little bit of success in business, and this is my full-time job, right? That's why I have time to do this podcast and all that type of stuff. And, what I've learned along the way is that a big part of how you build a successful creative business is like through repetition, right? If you're able to find something that you're really good at and you can just keep doing it, and you're going to keep experimenting and you're going to keep improving. But if the template is there and you basically just have to like execute on it over and over again, that's when you're able to like start, stacking up some income and starting to have some success. If you're constantly reinventing the wheel, it's going to be tough. And yeah, if that's the type of client that you're dealing with, where you're kind of always skating, and you're never quite on firm footing, not exactly a recipe for long-term success, in my opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, but this is a dope segment, man. This is a good topic, Jared. Good job. Good job, Michael.
Props to Jared.
Good job, Michael,
man.
for your insights on this as well, man. It's been cool to hear your side of it, and I kind of referenced it earlier, but I know Michael has said no to a gig because he's said no to me before. And that
it's not because I didn't want to. Come on, that doesn't count.
It counts. It's a gig that you said no thanks to. That's fine.
Yeah, I just started my new job, and you're like, hey, middle of the week, second week? What do you think? I'm like, what?
Oh,
man.
I'm talking about my wedding.
Trust me,
I'm
man.
talking about the wedding.
Oh, that one.
I was going to get Michael to shoot my wedding, which, it hasn't happened yet. That keeps getting postponed anyway, so,
Okay, well, actually... Okay,
that's the reason your client doesn't have good timelines. You gotta say no to that.
Let's I know, right? Let's
set the record straight.
No, let's cut it because we're about to end here, and then we gotta continue on the wedding because that beautifully blends into my last point. Okay, now it is really funny that you bring up that the wedding and me not me turning it down. It beautifully paints my last point as well, which is if it doesn't align with not your style, but I guess, the type of photography that you feel you can do the best and that you enjoy. Right. Yep. And so for me, I've shot a couple weddings. I tried it once. I really didn't like it. I didn't feel like my quality of work was there either. And again, that's another example of what we were talking before with how you just, if you struggle to get in it, to enjoy it, it's going to be hard for you to kind of capture, to your ability. And so I think it's one of those things, and it's not fair, it's not fair to the client. And it's also like, it's not what you want to be doing. You don't feel like you enjoy doing that style, and so that's just what it is, right? And
yeah,
so
totally.
I know
fair,
Jared. Jared doesn't take offense, right?
Definitely not. Well, if I did, I wouldn't be recording this podcast with you. That's what I was going to say. We know that that Michael had a lot of tact in the way that he was able to say no thanks to that gig, and I think that's a great point to leave this segment with. Right, is just that just because you're saying no to this one gig, it doesn't mean that you're burning that bridge, right? And I think that that's a really important note to end on, is just the tact that you use and the language that you use and the way that you say, this isn't really what I'm going to do right now, it is really important, because you never know when, that opportunity could turn around. Maybe they, go to work. Maybe that person who you were speaking with, maybe they go to work for a different company after, and then they end up, calling you a year later and saying, hey man, like I've been still following your videos. I still want to work with you. Yeah. I'm working at a new company. They really value creative. We've got like great plans for videos. We got great plans for photos. We've got a really strong brand here. We'd like to bring you on. If you just kind of, if you were rude about it and you just kind of laughed it off, and someone offered you a gig and you're just like, how much? Yeah, right, bro. Yeah, right. Why don't you call, I don't know, Fiverr, right?
Call Fiverr.
Call Fiverr and hire somebody in Venezuela to do your photo shoot, bro. You don't want to do that. So you want to make sure you're not burning any bridges, right, Michael?
That is right.
And that is right. Yeah, and we better not burn the bridge into our news segment. News.
Neither of us were in sync with either of each other.
Oh, that's okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah. Dear listeners, this is the news. I don't know if this is the first time you listen to this podcast, but half of the podcast we do a topic, and the other half we do the news. And
that is it.
That's like the whole thing. And then sometimes we have a guest, and then we don't do either of those things. Now you guys are starting to understand how the podcast works. But right. Today, Michael has a wonderful news story for you all. And I don't know where it's from or what the title is, so I hope that Michael does.
I sure do, Jared.
Hooray. Hooray.
Hooray. Yeah, man. We're going to be visiting a very interesting topic that has really been, only really been introduced recently. I'd say within the last year, maybe you can say maybe the last couple of years.
So some pretty newsy news, bro. On the cusp. Yeah. On the cusp.
Yes, on the cusp of it. Obviously with these surfaces blowing up the way they are, in power wise, I mean, they're computers at this point. The iPad Pros are unreal, and so basically we saw an article come across again. Of course, it's Petapixel. No surprise there. Written by, again, how would you pronounce this name? It's two letters for the first word. DLCade. DLCade. Yeah. So DLCade written this.
Dill? Could be.
Dill?
Wasn't there a kid on Rugrats named Dill? Could be Dill.
Could be Dill. Yeah, so I mean, what I wanted to do to kind of, I guess, navigate this conversation was kind of first
what's the title of the article, though?
Oh, see, I thought I had a rhythm, and then I realized I forgot something. Or Jared realized for me.
Your ankle's probably hurting. That's probably why.
You know what? It's throbbing.
We're gonna blame it on the ankle.
So much pain, actually, right now. Blame it on the ankle. M1 iPad Pro review. More powerful, more functional, still frustrating. That did not sound how I wanted it to. I sounded like a 13-year-old kid trying to do it. Okay, so
that's actually how I felt about your read there. It was powerful and frustrating. So I'm gonna put Jared in a headlock when we shoot episode 36 and we're in the same studio. Hey, I can't wait! I can't wait till we're in the same studio, getting all sweaty and fighting. Cannot wait.
Oh, what is this world? What is this show?
I don't know.
We start with a terrible cover rendition of Closing Time, and then we talk about getting wet and sweaty. Yeah, no, thank you, appreciate it. I like the part where I messed up.
Me too, that was my favorite part.
Yeah, I know. So diving into this topic, I wanted to highlight some of the things that they were bringing up. Okay, so I literally screenshot, highlighter swiped
Highlighted
on words and highlighted. What did I say?
Highlight.
Highlight. Yeah, I'm a little high. Okay, so
You're highlight.
I'm highlight. Okay, so the 2021 iPad Pro with its M1 chip, right? So we've been hearing about this M1 like chip. It's Google or not Google. Apple's been
can't shut them up about this M1 chip.
Can't shut them up about these chips. We're talking about 16 gigabytes of RAM, right? So I mean, for photo editing, I think that's fine. I think photo editing, I think that's fine. It depends on how deep you're going, right? I mean, if you're doing like some crazy Photoshop stuff, then you'd have to revisit that and see if there's anything you can do for expansion. But I doubt it. Thunderbolt support, mind-blowing mini LED display. We already know the Retinas have looked great for a while. They only get better. So,
that's why I've got my hat on today, to keep my mind in, so it doesn't blow out.
That's right, Grandpa. That's right. His hat says Grandpa on it. That's not a nickname that we have for. So, anyways, what I thought was interesting was that Mr. DL. I know, right? It sounded weird. Yeah. So DL. Our boy DL, I thought it was interesting that he put this in here because I did not know, but he said, we've never reviewed an iPad on Petapixel, but with the release of the 2021 iPad Pro, it seemed like Apple was really sending a message. I think it's really cool. I think the other aspect of it, right? Like how many times have we seen, I think Peter McKinnon's literally done 2 or 3 videos of him, just top down editing on his iPad for 10 minutes. I think jazz music's playing or whatever. And I really love those videos and I think those videos did really well because it was very interesting. Like it was very stimulating for us as photographers it almost looks like, you're holding your art canvas and you have your paintbrush. And, it's such an interesting way to edit photos. And, and of course, in other ways, it's more more efficient to edit on a computer. But
natural to some, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think, what we're hearing from, articles and hearing from other creatives in the industry that we respect, I think, we're seeing some interesting stuff. He also added in here, even compared to last year's blazing fast model, the 2021 iPad Pro is 30 to 40% more, 30 to 40% faster across the board and more capable than ever. That is unreal. It's 30 to 40% faster. I mean, honestly, Jared, and I want to know your opinion. I don't know if you have an iPad or if you've been using any of the later models, but I have an iPad. This is 6th gen, just basic iPad, nothing crazy about this thing. And I have been able to edit photos like lightly and not necessarily dumping all my photos after a shoot on there. But, I mean, I've worked on it for a good amount of time. Haven't had any issues. It's very efficient. Have you used one?
No, I'm a bit of a grandpa in that respect. So I edit everything the old school way. I edit on my laptop, whether I'm doing photo editing, or video editing, I do it all on my laptop, and I have never bought an Apple product since, oh boy, I had an iPod. I might have even had like
iPhone.
I don't think I ever even had a thin iPod. I think I only ever had like the big thick iPod. I think that was the last.
Are you serious?
I'm serious, dude. That was probably 2006 or something. Might have been the last time that I gave Apple any of my money, man. I'm a Windows boy at Windows and Android. So I really, for me, I don't like editing that way. When I'm editing, I like to go in my office, right? I have my coffee or my beer or whatever I'm having, and I focus, man. And that's the only way that I can really, especially when it comes to video editing, it's purely just a me thing. And this is, I'm sure there's other people out there listening right now who are just like that, where like that whole idea where like I could just be sitting on a beach editing or whatever, right? Like, oh, I have my iPad.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out, go to the bar and do my editing. Like that's, for me, I'm like, no. My workflow isn't like that. I take my photos or my video. I have my two monitor setup on my computer. Good specs on my computer, and I edit like that. And I've got my 2 monitors, and I set it up the way that I like, and I can concentrate. So this is really not appealing to me, but I could definitely see it being a good option for some people, right? And as you were saying, like, these specs are pretty impressive, and the price isn't crazy. I mean, you can get the best one of these for about $1,400. So that's like the top of the line iPad here. The Pro, 16 gigabytes of RAM, exactly identical RAM specs to the laptop that I use for editing all of my photos and videos. The 13-inch display, that's pretty small. I mean, to be editing, especially if you're going to edit videos and you have your monitor like within that, that's really small. But not horrible, I guess, and apparently a good quality display. 2 terabytes of storage if you're taking a lot of photos, video footage. I guess that's fine. Actually, quite a bit of storage, especially for like a thin tablet, right? So pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. And of course, the M1 processor, which like I went to get a cup of coffee today at Tim Hortons, and my security guard stopped me, told me about the M1 processor. I was walking down the street, a dog was taking a poop, and he looked up and he said, "Man, this M1 processor, dog, 3.2 gigahertz max speed. You see this?" And I was like, "That's crazy, dog. Make sure you pick up after yourself there, buddy." So yeah, man, pretty impressive specs though. One major problem is the fact that not all of that RAM is accessible by programs. So each individual program can only access 5 gigs of the RAM. This is getting nerdy. Welcome to Nerd Corner. I believe there's a software update that does address that, but pretty big thing to overlook, bro. Pretty big thing to overlook, especially if you're going to be trying to run Premiere on one of these bad boys. You're gonna need You're gonna need that 16 gigs. Let me tell you, you're gonna need it. The cooling issues. Think about that, bro. Think about that. How is this thing getting cooled down, right? So even in my laptop, there's like 2 big fans on the back of my laptop, and then I have another external cooling unit that I use that I sit my laptop on top of, and I run that if I'm doing like multicam editing in Premiere, and it keeps everything running smoothly, and it makes sure that I'm actually like getting that performance out of my hardware, right? So again, Nerd Corner, but these are pretty important things, and it does tie back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Your workflow is really important. That's how you're going to make your money. And if you're wasting a lot of time playing, like, let's be honest, bro, playing around with gimmicks, you're playing around with gimmicks. Like, that's what you're doing. So, I mean, whatever. If it works for you, then that's fine. And if it's more intuitive for you, then that's great. But from a purely practical standpoint, for me, I'm a very practical person, I guess. And it's all about utility for me. So I found something that works well. And I'm not gonna be editing shit on on an iPad.
Wow.
I know. I didn't expect this segment to be so
it's
intense,
pretty bitter,
man. Like, I don't know. Pretty bitter.
Yeah. I know.
Is this really about the iPad, Jared, or is this about your childhood?
Like on this show, everybody, it is one side versus the other, almost on every topic. Not on the topic, sorry, but on it's
on every news story.
Canon, Sony.
I mean, we agree on the broad important things, I think, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's good to have some, some conflict, some strife. Yeah.
I think the iPad, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it, because we keep seeing larger models, and I can almost see us being at a point where these things do get powerful enough, do have the capability and ability to maybe have ports, USB-C ports, and maybe HDMI, or maybe it's a dongle or whatever, but it has the horsepower it needs to get you through your workflow. I can see them coming out with just 20-inch iPads, and you have to buy the keyboard accessories and basically
I like the
more of an accessory piece.
I like the horse idea though. If you can get horses to edit, and then that really frees up a lot of your time. Yeah,
to edit. Yeah,
like they got big hooves though, so that's gonna be
What are you on, bro?
It's just late, man. It's just late. It's just late.
Man, that's no, it's funny. But you brought up the tiny 13-inch screen. I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure though, with the newer models, that with the Apple monitors, that there is a way to sync up. I'd have to double check that, and don't quote me on it, everybody. But
and then you can plug a keyboard into it too, and then it's a computer.
That's right. Well, okay. Well, so if you're, I know that you half of this is you just hating Apple, but the other, what if it was the Surface Pro?
Probably like 75%
have you played around with Surface
Apple
Pro?
hate. It's like 75% Apple hate.
Jesus.
No, man, I haven't. Again,
it's just a style,
It's just
it's
a
like the way of
It's just a workflow thing, man. I just I'm happy with what I have. You can ask anybody. I'm one of those, I'm not an early adopter of stuff, man. When I find something that works and it's working well for me, just like when we had Alexi on last week's show and he talked about that, right? Like camera gear and what you really need to buy, what you really, what's absolutely essential to have. I don't know. I think you get kind of lost in the technology sometimes if you get too obsessed with, always having the latest tech. I think you kind of focus too much on that, and then maybe you focus less on your technique and your workflow. And I spend enough time on my phone and on, dicking around as it is, right? And I'm trying to do less of that and do more actual work. And bringing a tablet in, so it's not all Apple hate, man. I just the tablet thing has never really been big for me. I think if you're an illustrator, that's the biggest one, right? If you're an illustrator, I think it makes perfect sense to have a tablet. But if you're a photographer, you probably like Michael said, you probably have enough horses to get it done. But if you're a video editor, man, I still usually work with 1080p footage, right? I'm not even usually working with 4K, and I have a pretty expensive, pretty decent editing laptop, and it handles things fine. But there are some times when I'm like, man, I wish I did have a little bit of better hardware. So yeah, just to do the tablet thing just really seems like moving backward to me. Just doesn't appeal to me.
It's very interesting to hear your side of it. I think for myself it's not at the point yet either where it's going to be my main my main suite, I guess.
It's a nice to have, right? It's a nice to have.
It's a nice to have, right? I think you have to have a few reasons to kind of want it. I don't think that, relying on it purely as, your working suite is going to work. I don't think, just using it to take notes is going to justify it. I think there's this middle ground you kind of got to meet where, the value is really good for you. And I think part of that equation, of course, is, do you enjoy, operating that way at all? For you, it's no. And for me, I've personally really enjoyed bringing my iPad with me on vacation and kind of being a bit more of a casual, taking photos, maybe sitting on the veranda or the back of wherever we're at and just hanging out. And
for hobbyists,
light editing, right?
for hobbyists, it might make more sense as well, right? Maybe that's me being a bit jaded too, because most of the time that I do pick up a camera, it is for work. I mean, I do it for fun too, of course. But it usually is for work. And I guess, if I was just doing it for my own, taking nice photos of my dogs or whatever, then yeah, it would probably make more sense, right? But
right.
I'm just usually worried about the efficiency of it. But to each their own. If this is something that does free you up from that desk and helps you to be more creative, then I'm all for it. But just think about where you could be spending that money, right? That $1,400. I can think of a lot of good places for you to spend it. Maybe you want to upgrade your camera, right? Maybe you want to get a new lens or a couple of new lenses. Maybe go ahead and spend that money on audio gear or something like that, right? And then you can start doing more videos, and then you're adding like an income source to your business or whatever. So yeah, there's just a lot of things to think about. But yeah, it's a nice bonus, and could really help with the creativity for some people. So definitely something that's worth talking about, worth discussing here. And I'm glad we got a little bit of debate, man. I felt a little bit of heat there, so that was cool. That was good.
Yep, 100%, man.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say on the matter. You got anything else?
No, nothing really. I was just gonna agree with you on one thing. You mentioned, you have that $1,400 and putting that towards a camera. I think, I mean, especially because most of the time, like, you're selling your current body. So what you can get, like, I mean, if you're already shooting semi-professional to professional, odds are you're probably looking at 700 plus back on your current body. And so, combined, you can get something like an A7 III or, a Canon 6D Mark II, something that's really powerful that can really take your work to that next level. So you're right. Sure. That is something to kind of think about.
For sure. Probably the best way to close it off is maybe like make our recommendations for what we think like the best kind of editing suite would be, right? I like Adobe Premiere Pro. I'm not going to say it doesn't have problems. Okay. A lot of people enjoy using DaVinci Resolve. It's not really an option for me because I edit with a team of people and we all use Premiere. So we're pretty stuck with Premiere, but I do like it. I recommend getting if you can, a dedicated desktop is the best thing to have, especially if you're going to be doing video work. I mentioned Premiere. I probably should have mentioned Lightroom as well. It's a photography podcast. Lightroom is a great program, especially for batch editing if you've done a large shoot. Having more powerful hardware than you think. I think investing quite a bit in a good processor and a lot of RAM is a good idea. Definitely something that you're going to want to have. Extra cooling, I talked about this earlier, but if you have a laptop and you're running like intense photo or video editing software, it's going to get hot and you're going to be suffering in terms of performance. So if that is a desktop computer, then you've got like really good fans inside and you're keeping it well ventilated. Water cooling even can be an option if you're really hardcore. And like these little things you can get for your laptop, they're like $50, a little cooling unit with some extra fans. Another pro tip, you don't have to spend that much on like the internal storage, the hard drive on your computer. You're just going to be like making the computer heavier and bigger. There's not a lot of point. External hard drives, man. I've got 3 of them right now. And a bonus pro tip, you can probably get your clients to buy those, right? So when I have a big video client, it actually just happened with one of my video clients. Shout out to Skari. Shout out for buying a hard drive. I just went to them and I was like, look guys, like my computer's full. If you want me to keep all these raw files for you, I'm willing to do that, but we need to buy a hard drive. And they were like, yep, go get it. So no problem, put it on the bill, good to go.
Wow,
so that type of thing can be good, and you can kind of work that out with your clients and then you're not like spending insane money, right? And kind of, balancing that and really pitching that in a certain way, hold on to your raw files for you. Oh, we're going to need a hard drive, right? They're not too expensive these days. I know because I just bought one. 4 terabytes, it was under $200, right? So if you're going to be investing a lot, invest invest up front in a really good processor, lots and lots of RAM, just kind of, I'd say pretty much max it out, right? You can't really have, if you're going to be getting into video editing, especially, you can't have like too much RAM. So yeah, just kind of my final thoughts there. And having a second monitor to be able to like put your main editing window and then like a side window for like your effects panels and whatnot really can help. If you want to get more detailed into that, then you can intern for Galaxy and I'll teach it to you.
That's a good one. I'll just build on what you said because you brought up a lot of the good ones already. But yeah, I think you mentioned the 2 monitors. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the key point there is like screen real estate. So you could either do that or like ultra wide.
Yeah.
For some people,
same idea.
Yeah. I think it's more so like how much desk real estate do you have too, right?
Yeah, that's
so
true.
You're kind of limited, but I think either way, I mean, if you can get 2, that's great. Let's see here. I think I'm not sure if the graphics card is not too crucial. You can get kind of a beeline, 1080 Ti or something like that. You spend a couple $100, you get something decent, you'll be fine.
But you don't need a hardcore gamer.
You don't really need it. Yeah,
you're not going to be mining any Bitcoin, or maybe you are. If you are, then you need one. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Potentially, if you're getting into some crazy 4K suite, I don't know. Maybe on video
or VFX
playback.
If you're doing VFX.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, in some of these guys, I mean, if you're talking about feature film and stuff, then you start getting a bit crazier, right? Then you're talking sometimes 8K. So maybe a graphics card for playback would be good. I'm not. I mean,
fair.
We're not really talking to those people. So I guess it's not that.
Those people
crucial.
are too busy to listen to podcasts, probably. So.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think RAM is just so valuable.
Yeah,
I want to like emphasize that one.
this
Especially
episode
when
is brought to you by RAM.
Not the cars.
Not the cars.
I mean, look, just to emphasize it, like whatever you need, if you for RAM storage, if you have the ability, then I'd say get like 1 extra card, just because these things die all the time. And you don't want to be, down to 8 gigs or 16 gigs if you're editing mass files. So, yeah.
You need a lot of gigs. You need a lot of gigs. I guess that's the podcast. It's been a great one, man. Great to see you again, Michael. Great to see you here on the podcast again. We do this every week, and it's always the highlight of my week, man. So before we go, we have a few people to thank. First of all, thank you to editors Megan and Arrow for their help editing the podcast and other content here on the Galaxy channel. I already thanked Michael, I'm pretty sure, but thank you, Michael, for a great episode of the podcast. Thank you to my dog Sonia for being quiet during the recording. That was very nice. She only started coughing like a little bit, which is great. And thank you to Cusco, Michael's cat, for not throwing up on the bed this time during the podcast.
Well, hold on. No.
We confirmed no throw up. And thank you to me for also not throwing up on today's episode of the podcast.
Yes, thank you, Jared.
You're welcome.
I also want to put in a special thank you to my girlfriend who allowed me to have the room for the hour.
Awesome.
And also for making Cinnabons, which I'm about to eat.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we're about to eat dinner, so you and I are on different levels of existence right now, because I'm going to have dinner with red wine, and you're going to have Cinnabons. But you know what? I'm not here to judge. We are here to end the podcast. And before we do that, I need to let you guys know about some other great content that you can check out. If you enjoy this podcast, but you don't really like me so much, and you only really like Michael, and you want to hear him talk about music, then you can check out the Michael Costa music channel on YouTube. You can also check out the Masha and the Dogs podcast, which is a wonderful podcast about all of the greatest, most important, most prestigious dogs of all of history who have contributed greatly to the world of dogs. And
can you sorry, before we go, can you slip in a special question while she's doing her next podcast? Say Michael wants to know who let the dogs out, because I've heard the song, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's got to be some historical event.
Masha's done a lot of research, so if anybody knows who let the dogs out, it's probably Masha. So
okay,
cool. And I actually saw her. She was in the library yesterday, checking out a lot of different books on just that subject. So I'm sure we'll be able to get to the bottom. But I'll tell you right now, buddy, that you've really opened a can of worms here, because experts and scholars, there's not exactly not exactly agreement on the matter. So anyways, not exactly a consensus who did let the dogs out, but we'll let Masha get into that on her show, because that's really not our expertise. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed all of that, dear listeners, and make sure that you tune in next week for another great episode of the podcast. Michael, you get the last word, man.
Word.